On Wednesday, the feds made their first rate cut in over 4 years. The Harvard Gazette called it larger than expected. CNN praised it as jumbo, and Fox saying it was historic. Wall Street's excitement became euphoric. The S&P 500 surged to a record high, and the Dow and NZAOA, not to be outdone, joined in on the jubilation. And all of this was for half a percentage point. Now, my background is not in finance, but that's an objectively small number to have such an outsized impact. Reality has taught me everything of consequence once started as a small number. The seconds before deciding to react out of love or anger, the synaptic distance between stimulus and response, the forgetful squirrel with a mouthful of acorns that begats a forest. What scares me about small numbers is that anything can sound insignificant depending on the unit of measurement. These larger-than-life looming figures we masquerade as unremarkable. It never sounds like much until you realize it's miraculous. For example, we have only one confirmed world that we can actually inhabit, and one life to live in this unique orchestra of flesh and bones. And when did those facts stop being extraordinary? It is only 5 degrees of fever preventing the body's organs from failure. 3 degrees keeping us from midnight on the doomsday clock, hands pointed at the heavens begging us to save ourselves. It was only a 1-degree flight plan error that turned a 1983 plane leaving New York for Alaska into the last ride for 269 people. Life has only ever presented itself to us in small ways to take action and course correct. Native Americans have a core belief that we are not in nature but of it. That increasing political polarization is tied to the decreasing polar ice caps. That uncontained wildfires might be the forest's way of staging a riot. That your rising blood pressure is in direct correlation with the rising tides. That the Great Pacific Garbage Patch, double the size of Texas, is a spitting image of the microplastics creating a traffic jam in our bloodstream. That it's a staggering breath of misinformation making the corals blush themselves the color of cremated bone. That the orcas attacking the yachts are making statements so loud. Is it any wonder why their bodies are shaped like exclamation points? What if other animals joined the protest? If birds bombarded planes? If bees refused to pollinate? If Mudang, the West African pygmy hippo, stole more than just our hearts as revenge for us stealing her natural habitat? It's high time there was a small number of people willing to answer the tough questions like, are we really conditioning the air or our minds? And why do more necks crane to stare at phones than up at the sky? These days, we count our lights more than our lucky stars and wonder why we never seem to have enough of either. For the truth is as inconvenient as its solutions, but we choose to lose no enthusiasm on what is possible. The Alliance recognizes we are a constant conversation with the environment, and sampling the financial sector's dialect is key to finally hearing each other. We know it takes public policy to make private capital perform, that this is all member-driven. The UN is the house that initiates the invitation, but it has always been bodies growing together that transforms an empty house into a home worth dancing in. The Alliance turned one mission into a $10 trillion portfolio, impressive enough to make the Niagara Falls whisper in awe. Divested from ego and brought together companies that would otherwise compete instead of becoming a force. Each of the 88 members mercilessly makes its body into a tuning fork, offers a note that we all may strive to reach. The Alliance has turned the Paris Agreement into a series of concertos, and its chief conductor has been Gunther Thallinger. Interpreted the score and set the urgent tempo we've moved to for the last 5 years. And like all the greatest musical composers, he has roots in Austria and lives in Germany. Leads with conviction, stands side by side with us in the orchestra pit, believed in our collective song like it was the only thing our hearts agreed to beat to. And speaking of hearts, we must also thank Selwyn, because just like a heart, he has always been willing to submit himself to the work that needs to be done. We thank Christiana Figueres for an endless well of optimism from which we all draw strength, for reminders that our work gets harder because we get better. And this poem expresses gratitude for all of you here listening today. For if the anthem of the butterfly's fluttering wings in A sharp can be major in creating a storm halfway around the world, may our symphony combine to form middle C's and chords of change. And since progress comes in waves, may we continue to make waves and do numbers wherever we find ourselves in need of music.